This is much bigger than you think. In today's video, we're going to break down how massive the Venezuela thing is. How does that affect your portfolio? And how do we position ourselves and understand historical cycles? Trust me, this is nothing new under the sun. We're going to take a look at Venezuela, the rumors around Bitcoin, oil, but I'm also going to take you back in history and compare the exact context to 2003. Remember, everything is a cycle. Unfortunately, there is no get rich quick. Stay out of the hype, stay out of the hopium, understand how economic cycles work. Okay. There's a problem that creates a reaction, and then there's a solution. From 2026 to 2030, you're in the biggest economic shift that you've ever experienced. And it's important to position yourself because what goes up will come down. There's going to be temporary bullishness, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but we don't time the markets. We have time in the markets. So I'm first going to show you some bullishness on the news around Venezuela on CNBC. I'm going to share with you how much they may hold, but I'm also going to bring you into the reality of what it looked like in 2003 when almost the same exact thing happened. And back end, I'm going to share with you exactly how I'm positioning myself to protect my family through this transition. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to watch is this was on CNBC, right? So there's rumors around after America invaded Venezuela, they captured the president. Bitcoin shot up through the roof. And so we're going to work to understand why Bitcoin's going through the roof. Okay. What is actually happening here? But we're first going to listen to the rumors. Now, there is no I haven't found anything that is solid that says how much Bitcoin they'll hold or we're going to seize the Bitcoin. But this is the narrative that's going around. Check this out.
Reports suggest Venezuela may have quietly amassed a Bitcoin reserve worth tens of billions of dollars. None of that is confirmed, but if the U.S. seizes those coins and adds them to its own strategic reserve, you're looking at potentially a substantial supply of BTC getting locked up for years. That is the kind of narrative that crypto traders love to move on. And technicals are also helping here. Bitcoin is back above its 50-day moving average for the first time since that major October washout. That move forced shorts to cover into the rally. The options market tell the same story. Derivatives exchange Deribit shows the $100,000 call is now the most popular bet on.
Okay. So, like she said, we don't have actual facts, figures, numbers, logic that say that. This was a post that was put out that I'd recommend you go read through. It was put out by Serenity on Twitter or X. It says Venezuela, the 60 billion plus Bitcoin shadow reserve. I recommend you go read through this whole thing. Market focuses on 17 trillion in oil, but what they don't know is that Venezuela is one of the largest active BTC holders in the world. Now, the reason why this makes sense to me, if you think about the position that Venezuelans were in, why would you use Bitcoin? Okay. And I'm going to talk about stable coins as well. And I'm going to share with you how I'm positioning myself through this transition. This is, again, not verified, but this is what is being rumored around there. So Satoshi is obviously the largest holder in Bitcoin. You got BlackRock through IBIT, MicroStrategies, and that would put them in the number 4 position if this was true with 600,000 Bitcoin. Okay. So these are the rumors floating around. That could be what affected Bitcoin. Now we're going to go to Venezuela's opposition leader said Bitcoin will be the key part of their national reserves. The next BTC country. So this is this is the important part to understand. Bitcoin is becoming this narrative of sovereignty because think about other countries right now. And I'm going to break this down in detail. We're going to go a little bit deeper into macro microeconomics and the effect from 2003, how this is matching up to 2026, where we're at now, going into midterms. Okay. But if you're in a country where you think that all of a sudden your president could get seized or your government could get completely collapsed and Venezuela's dollar currency could collapse, wouldn't you be moving into Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a narrative for this change. So I'm going to break that down in detail, but check this out.
Our campaign operates right now without banking access, isolated, yet resolute in our fight for change. Some Venezuelans found a lifeline in Bitcoin during hyperinflation.
During hyperinflation. Okay, that's the key. Write that down. Okay. Remember, guys, we're going to go into printing of money, low interest rates. The markets are going to go extremely bullish. But remember, when you print money in a low interest rate environment, who gets wealthier? The wealth gap is going to become massive by 2029. Okay.
Continue to protect their wealth and to finance their escape. Today, Bitcoin bypasses government imposed exchange rates and thus helps many of our people. It has evolved from a humanitarian tool to a vital means of resistance. We are grateful for the lifeline Bitcoin provides and look forward to embracing it in a new democratic Venezuela.
Okay. So think about that. Looking forward to embracing it in a new democratic Venezuela. Okay. So this was the market response. We saw a favorable market response. This is what the markets are doing right here. Okay. We're at 3.2 trillion. Bitcoin's at 93,000. I feel it's going to be extremely bullish. But what I work to do is I work to prepare myself based on economic cycles. So let's break this down. Okay. So markets don't move on truth, guys. They move on perception. Remember, money moves from the disciplined to the from the undisciplined to the best disciplined. Very, very important. Geopolitics, they're not random. Okay. They're financial positioning. So I'm going to take you back to 2003. In 2003, when Saddam Hussein was captured, markets rallied in the short term. Oil stabilized temporarily. The U.S. projected global dominance. The signal was clear. American controls power. America controlled energy, and America controlled the system. Markets responded with confidence. So Americans are feeling confidence, a response. Okay, we're going to continue to break this down. What happened next? The confidence was temporary. What followed was massive war spending, exploding national debt, accelerated money printing. Does this sound familiar? Long-term currency debasement, short-term strength, long-term inflation. Okay. So we are going into Reaganomics on steroids. They are going to print more money than in history in a low interest rate environment. That is going to devalue your dollar. Remember, things aren't getting more expensive. Your dollar is becoming worth less. That's very important to understand. So what are the modern parallels from 2003 to Venezuela? Now apply that to the same lens today. Any perception of American dominance is over, right? Venezuela oil, okay, energy supply, regional power. Okay. So here's the importance part is now we have this Venezuelan oil coming over. We got energy supply, regional power, and it's interpreted by the markets as reduced uncertainty, strengthened US leverage, short-term bullishness conditions. Markets love dominance, even if it's artificial. Okay. Why this is bullish short-term? Power creates confidence. Confidence drives risk assets, liquidity flows, prices rise. These are not fundamentals. This is psychology. Okay, this is all psychological warfare, guys. So what's Bitcoin's role in this, right? Here's the paradox. Every display of state power reinforces Bitcoin's neutrality. I just showed you. The Venezuelan leaders are saying, listen, this is a neutral asset that we can get into if you're worried about your government and the debasement of your currency. What did Larry Fink say? If you're worried about your country's currency, Bitcoin is a good hedge. They're now the #1 holder in Bitcoin. Strengthens its outside government narrative, heightens political risk in fiat systems. Bitcoin's benefits not from chaos, okay? Bitcoin benefits not from chaos, but from control of revealing its cost. Check this out. So what happens is when there's chaos, people move off into Bitcoin. That's very, very important. It's a asset that you can, I mean, she said it the best, right? When your government is controlling everything, you can move off into Bitcoin. It's not through a centralized party. Okay, and I'm going to go into stablecoins too, which is super important. Do you think it's by chance that Trump took over the stablecoin market? Do you think it's by chance that Bo Hines brought USDT into America, which controls 90% of the stablecoin market? So now if this is true with Venezuela, we control the Bitcoin market, we control the gold market, we control the oil market, and we control the stablecoin market. So geopolitical pressures accelerate stablecoin adoption, peer-to-peer payments, and cross-border settlements. So what you're seeing in 2026, it is the great mutation, guys. We are going into no longer following blind leadership. We're going into sovereignty of our wealth. Guys, don't let anybody manage your crypto, guys. Take sovereignty of your crypto. Take sovereignty of your wealth. Know what goes in. Know what comes out. Store your own crypto. Okay. Grow your DeFi. You can do all this yourself in the future. You don't need a centralized system. You don't need someone else to manage your wealth. Okay. Very important. So the important thing to understand about the stablecoins is peer-to-peer, Bitcoin's peer-to-peer, XRP is peer-to-peer, and it creates utility. People want speed, they want certainty, they want neutral rails. That is the era we're heading into, spiritually, financially, and physically. No more blind leadership. So this is really important. There's a whole nother part to this, guys. Trump wants to get reelected, or they want to hold the House. So there's an election cycle. Heading into midterm, markets are supported. I told you guys, 2026, before the midterms, he's going to make the markets extremely bullish. Liquidity increases. I'm going to show you guys the Fed report when it updates, the H41 report. They're pumping the money back into the system. Okay. Stimulus expands. They're going to start to pump stimulus checks. They're going to lower taxes. Okay. It often creates about a 2 to 3 year bullish conditions going into the next presidential election. Okay. But this comes with a price, guys. This comes with a price. Listen, the real cost is going to be debt expansion, currency weakens, assets inflate, they become overinflated. The wealthy own the assets, the middle class earn wages. The result, the wealthy are going to get wealthier. The middle class gets crushed and becomes poor. And inflation is not an accident, it's a transfer mechanism. Okay. Listen to me. Listen, this isn't politics. This is financial engineering. Let me say it one more time. This is not politics. This is financial engineering. Geopolitical feeds markets. Markets feed inflation. Inflation feeds inequality. Those who understand cycles prepare, and those who don't are going to pay for it. This is extremely important to understand. Those who don't prepare are going to pay for it. It is going to appear that the middle class became wealthier because you're going to be able to monetize more debt. You're going to head into a low interest rate environment. I told you guys before the midterms, markets are going to go bullish. Okay. If you just follow the parallels, 2003, Saddam Hussein, right? There was temporary relief. Markets rallied. The same thing with Venezuela. Markets are rallying. There's going to be temporary relief. This may go for a year. It may go for 2 years, may go for 3. We don't focus on time. Okay. We focus on time in the markets. We focus on following a system. We pull profits when it's green and we buy when it's greedy. We don't focus on price predictions. We don't focus on hopium. We don't hope that something's going to happen. We build a system. Okay. So here's how you navigate through it. Here's exactly what I do. I invented what's called capital DR. It is going to revolutionize how people manage through economic cycles. It is not asset specific. You decide based on financial literacy and education how to manage your wealth, how to transition your income, your currency through the system as economic cycles come in. So the economic cycle that we're in right now is an economic cycle where C, cash flow is king. Cash is not king. Cash is absolute trash. If it was backed by something like before 1973, it might be king, but it's not backed by anything. So you get paid in someone else's debt. Cash is not king. Cash flow is king. Your income is debt. So C is cash flow, richest man in Babylon. Every time you get paid, you want to transmit your income into something that creates cash flow. You take your cash flow and income and you transmute it into A, which is assets. Now, I like to pick fixed supply assets. My zone of competency is digital assets and cryptocurrency. Yours may be gold. Yours may be silver. Yours may be real estate. Okay. You have to decide what asset will beat inflation. Okay. If you don't understand inflation and debasement of currency, the silent taxation, you're going to get destroyed at 2 to 3% inflation. Your dollar loses half of its value every 35 years. So you put your money in a 401k, you get taxed at the back end, you get penalized if you take it out during your lifetime. And then when you get taxed on the back end, you're now getting paid in a currency that is deflated over the 35 years and cut in half. That's not how winning is done. That's why the middle class become poor, and that's why the wealthy become wealthier, because they move their money through the system. So A is assets. So as you educate yourself, you start to educate yourself. You understand how to buy companies or how to invest in stocks or cryptos or important. This is a great book, Warren Buffett, The Interpretation of Financial Statements. Okay. They're really, really important, tried and true economic understanding, like Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, Warren Buffett's economic cycles, like understanding economic cycles, understanding how he moves his money through the system, how he buys cash flow, right? Buying good companies at a fair price. So assets are really important to understand. Assets are things that over time are going to appreciate in value. Okay. No hype, not the next spec crypto, not waiting for price predictions, good companies at a fair price. It's not timing the market, it's timing the market. Okay. When these assets go up, pull profits. Okay. When you're in profit and you're going up, maybe take your initial investment out. What I do is I pull profits. Bitcoin, I'm never selling. That's going to be in leverage. And I pull profits and I use the bottom of the risk pyramid. I use cash value life insurance. The reason why cash value life insurance gets a bad rap is agents aren't structuring them properly and you're not funding them properly. They're cash value life insurance. They need cash in them. They're not magic money machines. They're not retirement policies. There's cost of insurance, and they're badass if they're used correctly. It's one of the greatest tools in humanity. It's at the bottom of the risk pyramid. If insurance companies collapse, you're going to have a zombie apocalypse. Insurance companies aren't going anywhere. And when they start allowing us to index into crypto, good Lord, that moment is going to come. Trust me, I'll be shouting from the mountaintops. It will be a double whammy. So I take profits. I store in insurance. Why? Permanent life insurance for my family, protection of my principal. Okay. No downside risk. When you come collapsing down, I've insured my money. And then I have leverage, which is L. I can borrow from the insurance company, no liquidation risk, like on the cryptocurrency side. I can borrow at low interest to do what? To buy more cash flow, to buy more assets. When the assets appreciate or the cash flow comes in, we pay off the debt and we bought free money, richest man in Babylon. That's how winning is done. And then DR is de-risk, de-risk, de-risk. I'm sorry, it's not different this time. 2003 is exactly as 2026. It's the same narrative they play every single time. And you're sitting there waiting for a president to save you. You're waiting for a savior to come out of the sky. You're waiting for some price prediction and some hopium to change your life. It's not going to change until you change. It's not going to change until you understand the cycles. It's not going to change until you start to study this and take control of your wealth. Discipline is not sexy. It's not. But that's how freedom is done. It's done through discipline, consistency, time in the markets, patience, and watching paint dry. No, it's I know that's not what you want to hear. I know that you're going to hear that all of a sudden your, XRP or your Bitcoin's going to shoot to 1 million. That's it sells, guys. It sells. That's why the news stations do it. That's why influencers do it. That's why they put out the $1,000 cryptos, the XRP. That's everybody hangs on that stuff. It gets tons of views. Of course. Price predictions, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy, but that's how you get wrecked. That's how you get wrecked. You know how many people got wrecked in 2025 because of price predictions? And I'm being open and transparent. I was that guy from 2020 to 2022 until I started reading real books. I started studying Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio, Kathy Woods, Robert Kiyosaki, Raoul Pal, right, in the cryptocurrency space. That's not what they're doing, guys. They have systems, they have structure, they have financial teams. And so I followed the same pattern. I built my own infrastructure. I built my own financial firm on the insurance side. I started to study deeply how macro and microeconomics work. And I built a system, capital DR, and I stick to it. And it made me a 7-figure investor. It made me a multimillionaire, maybe a 7-figure business owner. It's discipline. That's it. It's anyone can do it. That's what I'm trying to tell you, but it's not going to be easy. I wish I could sell you some magic pill, but it's not going to be easy. So I hope this information reaches your heart well. We're going to continue to go deeper into macro and microeconomics. We're going to help you understand how this is done. Okay. Yes, it's going to be bullish in 2026. But remember, what goes up will always, always come down. The next president is going to run on hyperinflation, the middle class getting wiped out, and the wealthy becoming extremely wealthy. And I hope that it's you that is the one getting extremely wealthy. The markets are ruthless. They don't care about you. Money doesn't care about you. XRP doesn't care about you. Bitcoin doesn't care about you. It moves from the disciplined to the undisciplined, to the undisciplined, to the disciplined, back and forth. That's it. When somebody's winning, somebody is losing. When somebody's losing, somebody is winning. So when this stuff goes up, takes them off the table. When it comes collapsing down, calmly enter in. Okay. Never, ever, ever leverage your crypto. Not now. Anybody convincing you to leverage your crypto, don't do it. It is way too volatile. Write down 10, 10, 20, 25 and study it and stare at it. When somebody's convincing you to leverage your cryptocurrency, 10, 10, 20, 25. We've coached 14,000 people. We saw people get absolutely destroyed because they were sold a dream that they're going to be multimillionaires by the back end of the year. They leveraged their crypto to buy more crypto and they lost everything. It is way too volatile. You should not be leveraging unless you have assets on the outside to right size that leverage. You should never leverage unless you're going to buy cash flow. Unless you're a multimillionaire and you understand how to properly use leverage, you should not be using leverage. Do not leverage a credit card to buy crypto. Do not mortgage your house to buy crypto. Create more income. Stop believing these people that are telling you to leverage all of your crypto assets. It is way too volatile. I'm here to speak truth, guys, because this is the era of no more blind leadership. This is the era of sovereignty of your wealth. What's done in darkness will come to light. Okay. And I'm telling you, you need to study the roots because eventually you're going to have to eat those fruits. Okay. I love you guys. I appreciate you. As we always say, warriors, let's get your shit together. Let's go.